Hello and welcome back to AC's Make and Repair. Today I'm going to show you some simple chainsaw maintenance. For my real work to make money, I cut trees down, etc. I run quite a number of chainsaws, and maintenance is a crucial part of chainsaw work. I run about 11 Stills and 3 Husqvarnas and various other chainsaws, so maintenance is very important. Today I'm going to show you some basic maintenance that I do on regular intervals with my saws to keep them up to date. Today I'll be showing you on an old Still 039 that I use. I'll just show you right there now. This is it here, and I'm going to do work on the 023 as well, but I'll only show you on the 039, and I'll show you some various other saws and try to explain their adjustment techniques too. I'll be showing you how to remove the side cover, clean the bar and chain and groove, which is very crucial, and inside on the side of the crankcase cover. I'll show you how to just clean the air cleaner off lightly too, and some other various parts of the saw. The tools you will need today: you'll just need a basic spark plug spanner with a flat screwdriver. I also allowed for another flat screwdriver too. If you have an air compressor, this is very good for cleaning down chainsaws, if you have an air compressor. If you have no air compressor, you can use an old brush. You can use some degreaser of some sort to clean it down and then wipe it off somehow. You will need a rag to do these things. So stay with me and I'll give you a step-by-step process right now. So first thing you do is undo these two nuts. You might find it better to turn on the other side to undo them. I've just loosened them a little bit before. They can be quite tight. So undo those two nuts there. Just like that. And remove your bar and chain. This is the side cover of that saw. Sometimes this is very caked. The job I did the other day was a lily-pilly tree here in Australia, and it didn't put out a lot of muck, but some big trees, like palm trees especially, put out, it can cake that right up, right full, and other trees do it too. So we just put that aside, and you can do this a number of ways. You can use an air compressor, which I recommend, and you can blow in and around all these items here, around the sprocket, where the mount, the guide bar mount and bolts are, inside the guide bar cover here. I coat the guide bar cover. This is an old magnesium cover, alloy magnesium cover. Some of the new covers are plastic, but I blow them out. Yeah, sometimes if it's really grotty, you might have to use a bit of degreaser and so forth. Just simply blow it out like that. Mainly clean around these areas here. Some of that colour you got there is the protective agent that I spray on it. It inhibits corrosion. The next step I do is I blow this side off. Sometimes you'll get rubbish caught in around the sprocket here, and you may need to take this circle off, remove the sprocket and feed the rubbish in from out underneath this washer here, but that's running free enough. If you want to, you can use a bit of degreaser in that and spray it off. You get it spotlessly clean. You can wipe it down with a rag if you want to. I mainly look for the main working parts because tomorrow it's going to get filthy again. I try to clean it around these working parts here, for the adjuster on the sprocket, and I will do the magneto side as well here. So where all that muck goes in, I try to blow it sideways first. That prevents it going in and around the flywheel. There is a bit of a leaf in there or something in there. from somewhere before. I'll have to maybe clean that at some other time. Actually, it's not a leaf at all. Clean around the filler cap. Now you say, well, I haven't got a compressor. Well, alternatively, you can use a brush, like I said, and you could brush things down, brush all the muck off. Ideally, you want to get as much of that grit off it as you can, because grit in a system, starts wear, basically. Once you clean behind the side cover, and behind this part of the side cover as well, I put a protective coating on. I use a Crc Soft Seal, and I'll just show you how I put that on. The reason why I use it is, if you look carefully, see there's pitting on that old housing cover, and of these old alloy covers, and even on the old saws, we used to have the alloy side of the crankcase. If you got certain saps from certain trees, it would start corroding that out. So what I started doing many years ago was putting a sealant coat on it, and what that does is provides a protective barrier from some of that sap that causes the corrosion. So I'll just show you how I put that on. I just simply, it's just like a, this one's like a spray grease, but it's got like a waxy sort of stuff in it. And if you look carefully, it sort of coats it, and it does do a really good job. You could probably use lanolin spray too, but anything that sort of would leave a residue behind as a protective coating, that actually goes firmer than that, and but it's strong enough to resist impact from chips, etc. So you clean behind that. Then we turn our attention to the air cleaner, or the air filter as some people would call it. So there's a little filter there we have to take out on this model, and we basically unscrew. Before we unscrew, I'll give that a bit of a blowout below. Important to note, when you are blowing out with the compressor, it's good to wear eye protection. There's nothing worse than something flying back up and hitting you in the eye. Okay, so we'll unscrew that. This particular filler's in two pieces. Some are just clip on. You can simply clip them off with your fingers. So we unscrew these. Now bear in mind, this goes into the inside of the motor behind here. You want to try to minimise any risk of grit and dirt getting inside the intake of the carburetor. So what I generally do is I put the choke straight on, like that. That minimises the risk a lot. And on this particular model, if you look carefully, there's a little groove here like that. You go like that. That separates the two halves of the air filter. And once you've got it separated, you can take your compressor again and just blow that down from inside out. So from the clean side out. You won't get a spotless on the outside. If you need to do anything on the outside, do not blow directly like that. Blow across sometimes, that removes, or just use your brush too. Just clean your brush up a bit and just brush off the basic excess like that. Some filters you can wash with soapy water. I don't think this is one of them. They seem to break down when you do that. But I blow them out. But definitely avoid blowing in like that. This is still a fairly good filter. If you hold it up to the light, you can see through it quite clearly still. You've done one half, put it aside, then take the other half and blow from the inside out again. Always avoid blowing from the dirty side in. Once you've done that, you can clip the two halves back together, like so. There's a little bit of grit still on the outside of that. There, I'll blow that off. Not that it's crucial. And then I'll put that down. When I've got my thumb in there, I'll put it over the intake. and just lightly blow any grit in the carburetor. Just blow any grit from around the carburetor. That avoids any more muck filling the air cleaner straight up. Okay. That's all nice and clean. So we take our air filter and replace it. Put it straight back on. Now your filter on your saw may differ. Different. I don't know how many variations, and some are foam filters, some are little gauze screens that you can take out and wash out with warm soapy water. Some you can this same material they clip on from on top, the O23s like that, and some are just flat felt type of filters. On Husqvarnas you can have big felt ones that are round, you can have felt ones that slip down. They all vary. If you've got a user manual, have a look. They'll show you how it comes out too. I recommend looking at your user manual. So we just screw that back up. Doesn't have to be rock hard tight. It can be just firm, but firm enough to seal it from any dirt, contaminants from getting in from the outside. So that's firm and that's firm. Take that little screen we took off before, blow it off away from the saw. Then we slot that back in where it belongs. Take the outer cover, give it a quick blow out. Then we replace it and put it back on. There we go, that's back on. It may be worth noting, on a Husqvarna saw, a lot of times you have to undo the top cover. There's 3 bolts, or screws I should say, to remove that top cover. On this particular model, the filter goes that way. And some of the bigger models, the XP models, they have a round filter that goes down on the top. Some have even got a little like a pre-cleaner screen around them. That's on that. On this old still, this is a 009L, I think this is, 009, which was a common saw many years ago. You have to unscrew that one screw there, that duct dives in, and the filter's underneath there to do that. The other thing might be worth mentioning too, is on some saws, you only have one nut holding the side cover on. One nut. That can be that size. Sometimes they're 9/16 or 14mm. They do vary in size. Okay. I'll just move them over the road. Now for bar maintenance. Yeah, I can't stress bar maintenance enough. I believe bar maintenance is very crucial. This is one of the areas that I found that a lot of people neglected in their maintenance videos that I've looked at over time, and I thought I'd just share that with you now. Okay, the first thing I do when I take a bar, if it is greasy, I give it a wipe down, and sometimes I would degrease it if it's that bad. I remove build-up from off it. You can simply just scrape some build-up off it like that, because that's like sappy build-up. That can be a bit of a pain sometimes when you're cutting. So just remove that quickly. Now, then I take my compressor again. If you haven't got a compressor, you can brush it off, same thing. You might want to wash that down with a bit of Kero or diesel or petrol. So just wash around there, clean around there, scrape off there. Just blow that side off so not getting grease everywhere and oil everywhere. Then I blow the groove out. Away from the sprocket or the nose of the saw, or the guide bar, I should say. Blow it out like that. Now, then I go to the sprocket wheel in. Give that a bit of a blow out in there. As you can tell, that's running free. Sometimes I get a bit of stringy stuff in there from off different trees. You have to pick it out and pull it out and get it running free again. Clean it up. Some have got a little greaser hole here or oiler hole that you have to oil through. It does get a fair bit of oil off your lubrication anyhow, off your bar. Now these holes are crucial. See these holes? They're crucial. These holes on some saws is where the oil feeds through too. So, but these holes on this one are crucial because they feed from the side of the saw. So on this particular model, there's that little oiler groove there. That corresponds with this little hole here. If that hole's blocked, you will not get oil on your guide bar. It will subsequently be a dried guide bar. It will wear your bar. If it's not getting the correct amount of oil, it will overheat. It will burr the edge of your bar over time. And it can cause damage on your bar. And you do not want that. You do not want that. This is a fairly old bar, this one. Same with the saw, it's very old. Done a lot of work, heaps of work, but it's still going because I've maintained it. It might look dirty on the outside, but that colour comes with these old saws when they get older. If you do have a burr, there are several ways to treat that because a burr can really affect the way your saw cuts even sometimes. It can actually cause scalloping, I find. And so what I find, sometimes even your guide rails on your bar can be out of uneven, sort of leaning one way. So you can put it in a vise and draw file it that way and get them nice and parallel. On the side, if you've got a burr, you can put a file on its flat and go like that and get it off. Clean your bar down good and proper before you do that, so you're not filling your file up with grit and rubbish. And it just cleans the edges up. Be careful. When you do that, that creates a very sharp edge. The other thing you can do is buy one of these tools. It's a guide bar dresser, and you can run it that way. You can even run it that way to a certain extent, and it gets rid of the burrs too. Quite a handy tool, and that's got a little bit of a burr on the top, not a lot, not enough to worry about. This saw's cutting fine, and but that's a necessary thing. But I can't emphasise enough: clean your bar grooves, clean them. Make a tool up if you have to, like this, and scrape them out. I can see the shiny bottom of this groove here, so I didn't have to use that tool. You can make it out of a bit of tin, out of a steel ruler. You could use an old garden kitchen knife, whatever. Just clean that with your pocket knife even, you can scrape it out with. They can get very full, and the chances are if you've never cleaned it before, it will be filthy, and it will most likely fill that hole. And that's crucial that that hole stays clear, and these holes stay clear on some saws because that's where the oil feeds through some other saws too, through them big holes. When the adjuster's on one side and the oil goes in through the other side, so that's very crucial. That's about it for guide bar maintenance, apart from, like I said, the dressing, etc. Dress them down nice and square and parallel, and take the burrs off. And then I might go into chainsaw the chain sharpening today. That's a totally separate thing altogether. There's lots of guys out there that do videos on chainsaw filing and grinding. I do both. When my chains get older, I do grind to keep angles right, because when you're on site you seem to file a little bit uneven sometimes. The other thing is, I can't stress enough, is raker height. You use a gauge to adjust the raker height on some of these. Well, on all chains you use a gauge of some sort, and that usually sits above there and there. So I think it's about 25 thou. The raker has to be below the cutting edge, and it sits over the top. That's an important thing too. But like I said, I'm not going to go into sharpening today. There's plenty of guys that do videos out there. I think there's many videos on chainsaw sharpening there and grinding. Basically, all we have to do now is put this back together. I will file that chain when it's on the saw. I just clamp it in a vise and file it. But we just have to reassemble. Okay, now for reassembly. So we simply just take the chain and the bar, and I'll fit the chain on the bar like that first. Some saws you can't do that with. You've got to fit the bar first, then slip the chain on behind the sprocket, and so forth. So I fit the chain onto the bar, slip it over onto the sprocket. I'm making sure it's sitting in the sprocket nice and good. And what I tend to do here now is I'll adjust it up a little bit while it's loose like that. That way it'll hold it in position while I put the bar cover on. So take the bar cover, slip it on like this, install a nut, make sure this is important, there's not a person that owns a chainsaw alive that hasn't probably put the chain on back to front. Make sure you put the the cutter edges of your teeth, cutting teeth, facing forward on the top of your bar and facing backwards on the bottom of your bar, so it's the correct cutting direction. Don't put it on back to front, it will not cut. I think, like I said, everybody would have done it once or twice over the years, and generally speaking, you're in a rush when you do it and you just don't take notice. Okay, so now I'll put this the right way up, and I lift up on the bars. There's a little bit of play in this old saw, so I lift up on the bar. I check to see the tension of my chain. Now that's actually not too bad. It could do with a fraction more. I tend not to let them be too loose, because when they heat up they expand. Now that's not too bad there, running freely. So I take my tool and I do up these nuts while continuing to hold up on the bar. Now the reason for that is sometimes when you tension, I find if you let the bar stay normal, it will actually come back loose in time. So I hold up on it. There you go. Don't have to be super man to do it, just nice and firm. Then you just double check too. Yeah, that's fine. There we go. Consult your user manual. It will tell you what's correct for your saw. Now, the adjustment for mine is through the side cover. I will show you on another saw. This is a MS230C. I've got a couple of these. Not so much with this. This is the only one I've got with the easy adjust. You just loosen that off and you can adjust your chain tension by turning that little wheel there. Loosen and tighten it. Once you've got it where you want it, just tighten that back up and flip that back down. On the Husqvarna, the adjustment on this particular saw is on the outside. Okay. Just tension it up as normal, tighten these two nuts up when you're finished. On this old still, the adjustment's on the inside. A lot of old saws are on the inside, the adjustment. Okay. Like I said, the newer ones, a lot of the newer ones have the easy adjustment on the outside. I find that quite good, the newest type. But there you have it. I hope that's been helpful to you, and I hope you enjoy and keep your saws maintained well. Thanks for watching again today. The methods I showed you today in the saw maintenance, especially on the cleaning of the bar and the bar groove and the holes in the bar, I find to be crucial in chainsaw maintenance. This can save money, not only on replacement parts, but also in labour costs. Thank you once again for watching. I hope you felt this was a very helpful tutorial. Like and subscribe if you did. Okay, bye.